Hidden within the ancient texts of the Bible, beyond its well-known tales and teachings, lies a lyrical gem that has been a source of comfort, hope, and guidance for millions across millennia. The 23rd Psalm, a simple yet profound piece of poetry, transcends the boundaries of culture, religion, and time, echoing in the hearts of its readers like the soothing melody of a timeless lullaby. It is a short, 6-verse composition, but its brevity belies a depth that has continued to inspire, comfort, and challenge humanity since its inception. This is not just another biblical verse. It's a vivid and evocative landscape, a journey through green pastures and dark valleys, a testament of faith and resilience, a melody of divine providence and human response. It is the sacred echo of a shepherd's heart, a timeless testament to the enduring bond between the divine and the mortal. The 23rd Psalm is also a journey, a path trodden by countless generations before us, marking a spiritual sojourn through life's highs and lows, joys and sorrows, triumphs and trials. A journey marked by peace, guided by a loving and all-powerful shepherd. In the following lines, we will delve deeper into this remarkable psalm, exploring its cultural and historical contexts, its linguistic beauty, and its profound spiritual significance. We will traverse its verses, following the footsteps of the psalmist, understanding the symbolism of the shepherd, and unpacking the promises of divine provision, protection, and presence. We will see why, even after thousands of years, the 23rd Psalm continues to resonate with us, offering solace in sorrow, guidance in uncertainty, and a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. Stay with us as we unravel the mysteries of this treasured psalm, a journey that promises to enlighten, inspire, and transform. Why do the Psalms talk about enemies and the wicked so much? In the intricate text of the Psalms, a recurring thread weaves through its verses, the contrasting figures of the righteous and the wicked. This is not a simplistic division of the world into good and evil, nor does it denote the sinless and the sinful, for no human is without sin. Instead, these are portraits of orientation and disposition, a reflection of one's relation to the divine shepherd. The righteous ones in the Psalms are those who, like sheep following their shepherd, have turned humbly towards God. They are the ones seeking His guidance, trusting His wisdom, and abiding in His love. They have chosen to align their lives with the divine rhythm, echoing the psalmist's declaration, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." On the other hand, the wicked ones stand in stark contrast. They have chosen to turn their backs on the shepherd, to oppose His ways, and to walk paths of their own making. These are not merely figures of religious imagination, but embodiments of real-world opposition that God's people face. They are the enemies within and without, the struggles and adversities that challenge our faith, the elements of our world that stand opposed to the divine will. The Psalms, in their honest and raw expression, do not shy away from these realities. They acknowledge the presence of enemies, the pain of opposition, and the trials of life. Yet, they also affirm the strength of the righteous, their perseverance in the face of adversity, and their hope in divine providence. In Romans 3:9-20, Apostle Paul brings further insight into this dichotomy, applying the descriptions of the wicked in various psalms to the entire human race. Here, we are confronted with the unsettling realization that the line between righteousness and wickedness runs through every human heart. But in this very revelation, we find an invitation to walk in the way of the righteous, to follow the narrow path, and to abide in Jesus Christ, who is the way and the only true righteous one. The Psalms, then, are more than just ancient songs of worship. They are mirrors reflecting our realities, maps guiding our spiritual journey, and reminders of the enduring struggle between righteousness and wickedness. But above all, they are hopeful declarations of faith in a God who guides, protects, and loves His flock, even in the face of enemies and wickedness. Why do some psalms speak about hate when Christians are commanded to love? In the shared lexicon of humanity, few words carry as much emotional charge as love and hate. Yet, in the Psalms, these terms take on a dimension that transcends the realm of sentiment and emotion, transforming into verbs of divine action. When the Psalms speak of God loving the righteous and hating the wicked, we are invited to recalibrate our understanding of these terms. God's love, as it resonates through the verses of the Psalms, is not a sentimental feeling, but an active force. It is the divine in action, working on behalf of His creation, intervening in the course of human events, and manifesting His benevolent grace. This is a love that is as palpable as the shepherd's rod and staff guiding and protecting his flock. Conversely, when God hates, it is not an emotion born of malice or spite. It is His firm opposition to wickedness, His active stance against evil, and His decisive action to foil the schemes of those who stand against His divine will. This hate is God's commitment to justice, to setting things right in a world where wickedness often seems to hold sway. This view is not isolated to the Old Testament, but echoes throughout the New Testament as well. In 1 John 3:16, we see love defined not as a feeling but as an action. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down His life for us. Here, love is the ultimate act of self-sacrifice, the giving of oneself for the sake of others, the divine action of God on behalf of humanity. Similarly, hate is understood as God's opposition to those who stand against Him. It is His promise to defeat the forces of wickedness, His assurance of justice for the oppressed. But this hate does not negate God's commandment for Christians to love, even those who are perceived as enemies. Instead, it reframes our understanding of divine justice and human responsibility, calling us to love actively and oppose wickedness faithfully, following the example of our divine shepherd. How should we understand the Psalms' emphasis on God's judgment? In the heart of the Psalms, we encounter a theme that resonates with a thunderous echo: God's judgment. This concept, often misunderstood and misconstrued, takes on a profound and transformative meaning in the sacred stanzas of the Psalms. Biblical judgment is not the image of a wrathful deity wreaking havoc on hapless souls. Instead, it is the grand narrative of God's unwavering commitment to setting things right. It is God's divine response to the cries for justice from a world ensnared in the coils of oppression and violence. It is His righteous justice and compassionate mercy working in unison to restore balance and rectify wrongs. In the Psalms, judgment is not a source of dread, but a beacon of hope. It is the promise of a world where injustice does not have the final word, where oppression does not hold an eternal reign, and where violence does not remain unaddressed. Each cry for God's judgment in the Psalms is a call for divine intervention in a world where human efforts have often faltered and failed. But this longing for justice, this plea for judgment, is not just about retribution. It is about redemption. As Christians, we find this profoundly encapsulated in the New Testament, where God's wrath and judgment are poured out upon His own Son. Jesus becomes the embodiment of the curse voiced in the Psalms, the vessel of wrath articulated by the psalmists. Yet, it is through this very act of judgment that mercy, forgiveness, and redemption are made possible. For those who choose not to embrace this redemptive act, the reality of final judgment remains. But this is not a judgment of arbitrary punishment. It is a judgment of ultimate justice, a divine promise to set all things right. It is the assurance that Jesus, who bore the weight of our judgment, will come again to judge the heavens and the earth. He will, once and for all, usher in a world where justice prevails and mercy triumphs. What does going to the temple or Zion have to do with Christians today? In the lyrics of the Psalms, we often encounter a recurring theme: the longing for the temple or Zion. This longing holds a profound significance that transcends the boundaries of time and culture, reaching into the heart of our modern Christian understanding. To the ancient Hebrews, the temple was more than a mere building. It was the living symbol of God's abiding presence, a sacred space where the divine and human realms intersected. It was the beating heart of their spiritual life, the epicenter of their worship. The mention of Zion, the city of God, further accentuates this sense of longing, a yearning not for a physical location, but for an experience of the divine. The psalmist's cry for the temple in Zion echoes through the centuries and resonates with a profound truth: the human heart's eternal longing for the presence of God. Yet, for Christians, this longing finds its ultimate fulfillment not in a stone edifice, but in the person of Jesus Christ. In the New Testament, the temple's mystery and grandeur find their consummation in Christ. He is declared to be the new temple, the living embodiment of God's presence among us. All that the temple represented, the priesthood, the sacrifice, the divine presence, found their ultimate realization in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. In this sense, the Christian's longing for the temple in Zion is a longing for Jesus Christ, the dwelling place of God. As the Apostle Paul declared, "Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst?" 1 Cor 3:16. The temple is no longer a physical building, but the body of believers, the church, where God resides through the Holy Spirit. Thus, when we read the Psalms today, we do so with a New Testament lens. When we hear the psalmist's longing for the temple in Zion, we recognize it as our own longing for the presence of God, fulfilled in Jesus Christ and continued in the church. The echoes of the past find their answer in the present, and the ancient songs of longing become our songs of fulfillment.